some kind of an assessment afterwards. I really think it ought to be written into the policy, because we know that very often we say, oh, that's a really good idea, and that's the end of that. And so if it's in your policy, then you're kind of holding yourselves accountable to following up and measuring, assessing your culture.
Mr. Harvey and then Mr. Moore.
Just to keep this debate going a little bit, and it's not my belief, but can we really force children to include other kids that sit at the lunch table with them and not include them in a conversation? I mean,
What you
what
can
rights
do
do
is
they have to?
You can teach them.
What you can do, yeah, absolutely. What you're not going to force anybody to do anything. You're going to teach. You're going to affect the culture of the school that makes that kind of behavior unacceptable. That's what you. I mean, it doesn't, modifying that doesn't work by, punishing somebody. It works by creating a culture in your school where that would be offensive to your community, and that's work. I mean, I see that.
I mean, I see that in the clothing. This is way off, but the reason why I initially wanted to get into.
I think Mr. Roy wanted to respond to something specific.
Go ahead.
But let me put something in first. I do agree with the idea of the social power, the creating the culture. I have never been in a school system where you don't see those kind of interactions happen.
Yeah, if you're watching it.
But I also believe that you're correct in saying that it's very subtle. You have to be watching for it. You have to know what to look for. And then you have to have a way of shaping the culture of the school, of the classroom, of the communities that you're creating. And I'm going to say it again. It doesn't happen simply by doing plans like this.
Right.
It has to be a program, a planned out way of changing the culture of the school to one where those kind of things, those kind of interactions are not acceptable to the community. So if you have in a classroom where students are excluding, where students are doing things that, as you say, are mean, or they're not being very nice to each other, when that is not an acceptable way of behaving, not just from the teacher's point of view, but from the community of the classroom's point of view, now you have a change in the structure of the culture. Now you have other students holding each other accountable, saying, for example, it's not right that we're excluding so-and-so. When that begins to happen, when it's the students who are preventing the bullying from happening, then we have done something that it's not just paperwork to shuffle around or to send it off to the state. So when I look at this kind of thing, yes, we're doing this because the state requires it. I get that. And I look at the curriculum that we have, and it blends hand in hand with some of the other initiatives that I'm hoping we can put together into the school system, including the social curriculum. I mean, we have that initiative started in the schools. Is it perfect? Not at the beginning. But you need to change the culture of the school before you can say, we're going to deal with the repercussions. Unfortunately, when you see these plans, they're knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah,
and to me, the state has gone into a knee-jerk reaction. Put together the plan because something happened bad in one school system, and we're going to make everybody put together a plan to try to prevent it. But very often, what you get is, if you do this, we're going to do this to you. You do something worse, we're going to do something worse to you. It's reactionary. What I like about our approach is that we're trying to look at how do we change that culture so bullying is not accepted by the students, so that we don't have to go through the plan to find out, do the investigation. What are we going to give them in terms of a consequence for what they have done? We want to prevent it before it even happens. So when you have situations in the classroom where you're teaching the students what is acceptable as a social behavior or not, then you have less to deal with in terms of actual bullying. To answer back to the question about collecting data, I heard there was a survey. I'm with you. I have no idea where
It's
that
like in
survey
the
went. It
nebulous.
went
Yeah, it's out
somewhere.
in the ether somewhere,
Right.
you know.
I've already been asked to do a survey, and I said, no, hold on. Because part of this will be collecting some data ahead of time and then measuring against it. But we haven't done it yet because we want to get this
Right.
approved. So I think that's where you want to
Is it in the content of the policy that you will do an assessment? It is, okay. We had talked about it, but I wasn't sure if it made it in there, so that's great.
We put it in.
Nice.
That's why I think
Very
Mr. Roy
good.
wanted
Good
to
job,
put
Mike.
it in there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments?
Can I just,
Oh.
go ahead.
It's okay.
I just wanted to respond to the Reverend Mitchell. She made some really good points about how bullying is subtle, and I think that aspect of it is what makes it that much harder for us
Your
as
partner's
staff.
coming.
That's okay.
He wanted to get on TV. A few of us went to a training, two other counselors and I, that was put on by the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center, which was an excellent, excellent training. It teaches staff at all levels, from bus drivers to cafeteria workers on up to teachers, about how to recognize bullying, especially the subtle behaviors. And I think that we need to rely on people in the community, such as yourself, to really understand the power dynamics going on between students, because, you know, as the counselor, I may not know, the classroom teacher may not know, but in talking with many different people, Mary Jo, as the high school counselor, has, I know, very good relationships with students and knows who to talk to, and I think that's really, it's not going to be about, it's not that image that you have of one child pushing another child,